ma'am, can you roll the window down a little more?
It's down. I'm parked in front of my own house.
We got a call about a suspicious vehicle. I'm gonna need you to step out for me.
I'm an ER nurse. I just got off a double. That house right there is I'm just catching my breath.
Ma'am, step out of the vehicle, please. It's for everyone's safety.
The body camera started rolling at 6:18 p.m., right as the sun dropped low and turned the street gold. A black woman sat alone in a dark blue sedan at the edge of a quiet Midwest cul-de-sac, still in hospital scrubs, shoulders slumped, eyes tired. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She was parked in front of her own house. But the white police officer standing at her window didn't see a nurse coming home after a double shift. He saw a problem. "Hands on the dashboard," he said, sharp and loud, like he was talking to a threat. What happened next was caught on camera. Every word, every pause, every breath. And that footage would soon light up the city, cost careers, and expose a truth nobody on that street was ready to face. Because the woman in that car was not who they thought she was, and the man barking orders had no idea his worst day had just begun. Before we go any further, take a second and subscribe to the channel if stories like this matter to you. And drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. These stories are happening everywhere, and your voice matters. "Ma'am," I said, "put your hands on the dashboard. Now." Officer Brett Halvorson leaned in, one hand on his belt, the other hovering near the door handle. His shadow stretched across the car like a threat. Inside the vehicle, Tanya Brooks swallowed hard. Her hands were already shaking, but she lifted them anyway, palms flat against the dusty dashboard. Her phone slid off her lap and hit the floor. "I live here," she said softly. "I just got off work." Halvorson didn't hear her. Or maybe he didn't care. "This vehicle was reported as suspicious," he said. "You've been sitting here for a while." Tanya blinked. She had been sitting there for 6 minutes. 6 quiet minutes to breathe before walking into a house full of homework, laundry, and questions she was too tired to answer. "I was just..." "Ma'am," he cut in, voice rising, "do not interrupt me." Across the street, a curtain moved. Someone was watching. Tanya Brooks was 41 years old. She had smile lines around her eyes and a faint scar near her left wrist from a childhood bike crash. Her scrubs were teal, wrinkled from 16 straight hours in the ER. There was dried coffee on the sleeve. Her badge still hung from her neck, flipped backward, name hidden. She wasn't loud. She wasn't angry. She was tired in a way that settled deep in the bones. Earlier that day, she had held pressure on a gunshot wound while a teenage boy cried for his mother. She had watched an old man die while his wife whispered prayers into his ear. She had skipped lunch. She had skipped sitting down. Now she just wanted a moment of quiet. The car was paid off. The house behind her was hers. She had bought it after her divorce, one careful paycheck at a time. But none of that showed on the outside. What showed was a black woman alone in a car. And to Officer Halvorson, that was enough. "Step out of the vehicle," Halvorson said. Tanya's heart jumped. "Why?" "For my safety." She let out a slow breath. "I didn't do anything wrong." Halvorson's jaw tightened. "Ma'am, you're getting defensive." "I'm scared," she said. "You came up on me yelling." The officer laughed once, short and sharp. "I'm the one who should be scared here." That sentence hung in the air like smoke. Tanya looked at him. Really looked. His clean uniform. His stiff posture. The way his eyes kept flicking to her hands like he expected them to turn into something dangerous. "I'm a nurse," she said quietly. "I just got off a double shift." "Aha," Halvorson replied. "And I'm supposed to just take your word for that?" He tapped the window. "Step out." Slowly. A neighbor stepped onto their porch. Then another. Phones came out. Tanya opened the door with care, moving like she was made of glass. As she stood, Halvorson stepped back, one hand still on his weapon. "Turn around," he ordered. Her voice cracked. "Is this really necessary? Do you want to make this worse?" That did it. Her shoulders sagged, not in defeat but in disbelief. "I'm standing in front of my own house," she said. "In scrubs." Halvorson smirked. "People wear costumes all the time." The word costume landed like a slap. He asked her where she was coming from. Then where she was really coming from. Then why she was in the neighborhood. "I live here," she repeated. "Prove it." She pointed with a trembling finger. "That's my front door." Halvorson glanced, unimpressed. "Anyone can say that." Rain started to fall. Light at first, then steady. Dark spots bloomed on Tanya's scrubs. A man down the block shook his head but said nothing. A woman whispered to her husband. No one stepped in. Halvorson raised his voice. "Do you have anything in the vehicle I should know about? Drugs?" Weapons. Tanya laughed, a broken sound. I have a lunch bag and some granola bars. He didn't smile. You people always say that, he muttered. The words slipped out easy. Practiced. Tanya froze. Her eyes lifted sharp now. You people? Halvorsen straightened. Don't put words in my mouth. But the camera caught it. Clear as day. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She stood there in the rain, hands visible, breathing slow. Inside her chest, something old stirred. Memories she didn't like to visit. Training. Control. Patience. She knew this moment. She had lived it before, in different uniforms, different places, different stakes. Can I call someone? She asked. Halvorsen shook his head. Not until we clear this up. A patrol car pulled up behind him. Then another. Red and blue lights washed over the houses like a warning. The street felt smaller now. Tight. Tanya closed her eyes for half a second. When she opened them, her voice was steady. Officer, she said, you're making a mistake. He scoffed. You don't get to tell me how to do my job. No, she replied. But someone will. The rain picked up. The neighbors watched. The cameras rolled. And somewhere far away a phone began to ring. Tanya Brooks stood still, calm in the chaos, as if she knew something no one else did. Officer Brett Halvorsen tightened his grip, unaware that every second he stayed in control was bringing him closer to losing everything. The rain didn't stop. It came down harder, louder, like the sky itself was tired of watching. Officer Brett Halvorsen stood stiff beside Tanya Brooks, his shoulders tight, his jaw locked. The red and blue lights kept spinning, splashing color over her face, over the neighbors' lawns, over the American flags hanging from porch rails. The body camera on his chest blinked red. Recording. Always recording. Tanya felt the cold soak into her scrubs. She didn't move. She didn't ask again. She just waited. Halvorsen spoke into his radio. Dispatch, run her name again. And get me a supervisor. Now. That word, supervisor, made a few heads turn. Tanya lifted her eyes. Come. So. Like a lake before a storm breaks. You said I couldn't call anyone, she said. But you can. Halvorsen ignored her. The second patrol officer, a younger man named Cole Raskin, stood a few steps back. He hadn't said much since he arrived. But he kept looking at Tanya's badge, still hanging from her neck, still flipped backward. Nurse, huh? Raskin asked, trying to sound casual. Tanya nodded once. Yar. Raskin hesitated. Where at? Before she could answer, Halvorsen snapped, That's not relevant. Raskin went quiet. Across the street, a woman finally spoke up. She really does live there, she said, voice shaking. I've seen her come and go for years. Halvorsen shot her a look. Ma'am, go back inside. The woman froze. Then slowly retreated. The rain kept falling. Dispatch crackled through the radio. Name came back clean. No warrants. Vehicle is registered to Tanya Brooks. Address matches location. Halvorsen frowned. Run it again. Pause. It's confirmed. That should have been the end. But Halvorsen wasn't ready to let go. Ma'am, he said, turning back to Tanya, why didn't you just go inside if this is your house? She looked at him, eyes steady. Because I was tired. And because I'm allowed to sit in my own car without being scared. For the first time, someone clapped. Soft at first. Then another. A neighbor down the block. Then one more. Halvorsen felt the shift. He didn't like it. That's when the black SUV rolled in. It didn't have lights on. No siren. Just a smooth, quiet stop behind the patrol cars. The door opened. And everything changed. A tall black man stepped out, wearing a dark coat and no badge on his chest. But the way he walked, slow, sure, made every officer straighten without knowing why. He looked at Tanya first. Ma'am, he said gently, holding an umbrella over her. You okay? She let out a breath she'd been holding for years. I am now. Halvorsen stepped forward. Sir, this is an active investigation. The man turned. His eyes were sharp, calm, and tired in a familiar way. I know, he said. I've been watching. He reached into his coat and pulled out a leather wallet. Opened it. Held it up. The street went silent. Deputy Director Malcolm Viral, he said. Internal Affairs. Halvorsen's face drained of color. Viral didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. I got a call from a friend, he continued. A woman who said one of my best nurses was being treated like a criminal outside her own home. He turned back to Tanya. They didn't flip your badge, did they? She shook her head. No, sir. Viral reached out, gently turned the badge around. Tanya Brooks, R, and below it a second card slid free. 1. Faded. Military green. Major Tanya Brooks, RET. Bronze star. Purple heart. The crowd gasped. Raskin's mouth fell open. Halvorson took a step back. That doesn't change anything. Viral looked at him. It changes everything. Viral spoke clearly, each word landing hard. Major Brooks served 2 tours overseas. She ran field hospitals under fire. She saved lives while rockets fell. She came home and chose to save lives here. He gestured to the body camera. And you treated her like a threat because she sat in a car while black. Halvorson stammered. I followed protocol. No, Viral said. You followed fear. Silence. The rain slowed. Viral turned to the neighbors. This footage is already backed up. Multiple angles. Phones. Body cams. He looked back at Halvorson. You are relieved of duty. Right now. Halvorson's hand shook as he unclipped his radio. Raskin swallowed. Sir. I didn't know. Viral nodded. That's the point. A news van pulled up at the corner. Then another. Halvorson stood alone, rain dripping off his uniform, eyes darting as whispers spread. You people, someone muttered back at him. Sure. Bitter. He flinched. Viral faced Tanya. I'm sorry it took this long. She gave a small smile. It always does. A reporter shouted, Major Brooks, how does this make you feel? She thought for a second. Tired, she said. But hopeful. Halvorson was escorted away. No lights. No siren. Just the sound of boots on wet pavement. The neighbors stepped closer now. Some apologized. Some cried. The woman from across the street hugged Tanya. I should have spoken sooner. Tanya nodded. Next time you will. Viral walked her to her door. Thank you, she said. He shook his head. Thank you for not becoming hard. She watched the street as the cars pulled away. The rain stopped. The sun broke through, soft and warm. She finally went inside. Later that night, Tanya stood at her window, looking out at the quiet street. Her phone buzzed. A message from the hospital. Thank you for coming in early tomorrow. She smiled. Then she whispered, just to herself. I don't need to be loud to be powerful. I just need to be seen. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were standing on that street that night?